In this episode, Darrell and I discuss whether or not YouTube tools are killing its personality. Are the tools causing creators to create the same generic content? If you don't know who we are, Darrell and I were co-founders of a company called Realbase, which we recently sold for 180 million. I was CTO, Darrell was head of product, so we learned a whole bunch of stuff there. Let's jump in and hear the combo. Over-optimizing, losing character. Will tools like Clipflow kill YouTube's personality? Are the tools or do the tools that already exist, i.e. ViewStats Pro, 1 of 10, vidIQ, already killing it? All right, and then I get the comment here is, I guess you can read this, or if you have it open. Do you have it open?
Yeah, I've got it open. So I watch a channel called Scott Brown Carpentry. He's from New Zealand. And I really, really enjoy his content. And maybe it falls more into the bucket of entertainment, so it's not like a big issue for Clipflow. But even someone like him would be looking to improve the content that he makes so that he can make more money and be more financially free to do the things that he wants, right?
Mm-hmm.
One of the only ways to do that is to follow the Mr. Beast or the leaders. What they say is like follow the good ideas and stuff, and like his content wouldn't be what it is if he wasn't doing what he was doing and if he was just following views. And this sort of like ties back into what I was saying last week about if you make a video for Rails versus Next gets way more popularity, it gets more views, people are driven by the views. And I was just wondering, is it slowly killing YouTube and the personality? Obviously some people can shine through, but on a like broad spectrum, how do you avoid killing the uniqueness of the channels? Because I see it with the AI tools, like they just all get so default and so boring. And I just wonder what the future of YouTube looks like because of that.
Okay, so I think there's a good argument there for that use case, and it's like you can see it on Twitter and stuff where you look at all the thumbnail creators, they're all doing exactly the same thing. The problem with that is over time it becomes the standard and becomes the norm. So if you're not creating new things, you are going to fall behind, and you're going to be like, oh yeah, that's that ADHD style content. I don't look at that content. I look at different things. So over time you'll see like trends, and that's just like in anything. So I think that's one thing. Like, yes, there are, a lot of tools look for those outliers and they're going to be kind of following the same thing. But like I saw in that video that Colin and Samir did, where they're talking about like the people that are going to come in and create like episodic content and it kind of pulling things like content from the past, the stuff we used to watch on TV when we were young, and bringing that format back into YouTube. So like think of your MTVs, like those kind of shows, like building that kind of stuff. Now that's not going to follow the standard generic way. That's going to be different. It's going to, it's like rehashing the past, just like fashion, right? Fashion comes and goes in cycles, and it's the same as TV or entertainment that we watch. So I think we're going to see that. We're going to see things like that take over. And again, the audience size is so big, you're going to have different niches, right? And certain niches like to watch certain styles of content, like the 4x4 crew, like that really high, like, high revs, RPM, heavy music. Yeah, like things jumping, and like that's really cool. But then you have like the woodworker who wants to sit and watch 2 hours of some guy just like planing wood. Like that's like really relaxing, right? And they all have niches. And that's you. And the thing is, everyone has those different times of day when you feel like watching different types of content. Like even me, like I'll sit and I'll watch like Colin and Simia. That's like outside of the blue for me, like a podcast, one, two, like people talking. Or then you go to the Hormozy, who's like the real educational, like really quite aggressive, like you need to do this thing. And I'm like, yeah, I need to do that thing. Like there's different times. So I think,
if you want to get jacked up or if you want to get relaxed or if you want to get educated calmly.
Like even if you look at someone's Netflix account or whatever, that you'll see different types of things that are being suggested because like there's different moods you're going to be in. And I think that's the same with YouTube. Like yes, there is that ADHD and kind of driving to that one kind of piece, but that's like cool. That's on the side, and that may be the best performing out of the you're getting hundreds of millions of views, but that's not the goal. Because where I wanted to go with this point as well is I think if you're doing YouTube for money, it doesn't really matter how many views you get. It's how qualified your audience is. So like Hormozy had that girl that was doing like her Instagram and hit 1,000 followers, but she's making $1 million a year because they're hyper targeted, right? And those 1,000 followers are like 80 to 90% of them are actually wanting to buy your product. So like you can have millions of views, but no one cares really. They just want to watch your stuff because it's great and it's entertaining. where on the other end of the business spectrum, it's like, well, I don't get that many views. I get 100 or 300 or 1,000. But those people are my audience. Like that's my, for instance, for the Rails videos, it's like those people that are watching are core people. Like you can, if you were doing, let's say you sold some sort of Rails course or something, that would be your core market. You'd have 50 to 100 people, call it 300 on some of those videos that you can actually sell to. And the likelihood of converting is quite high. So
Yep.
you're going to make more money in the end of the day. You're not going to make ad revenue, but that's not really the game because ad revenue in the long term is not the thing. So I think, yes, those tools can force that, but I think it doesn't really matter because there are different angles to
Yeah.
take it.
So how do we, with my fear in mind, how do we avoid doing that with if we do bring in like the AI tools and stuff? At what point do you say like you as a channel, you need to tell us what makes you unique so that we don't advise you against what makes you unique and send you down that like default average path that everyone's going down?
Yeah. So I think if you look at what kind of things we would first points of contact with AI in our app would be, title suggestions. That would be probably the first thing. So by telling us what type of channel you education, entertainment, those things are going to have different styles. And also like I guess you could start, have different filters. Like, what's the energy level, like, of your
Yep.
content? Like, do you want high energy? Do you need that, like, content, or do you need, you're just chilling? Like, one guy that really impresses me with his content is like Web Dev Cody. He just
Yep.
literally he doesn't even put in effort in the thumbs. It's like him with a corner thing, and it's a screenshot from his video with the title, and he gets heaps of views. And it's just because he's built that rapport with his audience for so long, right? He's been doing it
Yep.
for so long, so people know what they're coming to expect. And I think we shouldn't get in
Yeah,
the
that,
way of
that that's what I mean, right? You don't want to come in if we're an advisor and a software platform. You don't want to come in and be like, change this because
no,
the research says this. When realistically, he doesn't like. No one expects him to have a good thumbnail. If he started doing like these crazy thumbnails, people wouldn't even see his video in the list. They wouldn't recognize it.
yeah.
So you want to like
So
avoid doing that.
yeah, so I think there's core principles to storytelling in any video format, like a hook, like and a title. Like he does put effort into his titles, and he does like his thumbnail does tie into his title because it's a software tutorial. So he's going to walk you through it. So you kind of it does tie in that way. So it makes sense. But I don't think you should ever get in the way. It's like, hey, your thing needs to be more energy, or you need to have more. Like we just need to say you need to have a hook because you need it, and he does it in because he's been doing it so long. He's actually learned how to do it, but without actually being like a cut hook. It's I'm going to talk you through what like I watched a video of his last night, which I haven't watched in a while, and he was like, "Look, I've been experimenting with Go for 2 weeks. I'm going to show you like what I like and what I don't like." That's the hook. Like
Yep.
what you're getting before you start. So he's doing it, but like whether it's subliminally, like just from doing it so many times, or he actually knows that he's doing, but he does it, he executes it really well. It feels supernatural. So you still
Yep.
need those things. And I think that's what we want to break down. It's not so much like depending on the niche, but it's like what do we think is makes a good get someone engaged so that you can actually get them to watch your content? Because that's people have a short attention span. If they're not hooked within 30 seconds to a minute, you've lost them, and then they're never even going to see the great work you've done on the other end.
Yeah.
So I
I
think if
think
we
it's easy to watch the advice that's out there and think you're doing something wrong, and a lot of the time the advice isn't tailored to you. So like reminding people to stick to their goal, their channel goal, their personality, and all of that, and not lose it to the advice as well.
correct, and I think a lot of the big people say that, like they say, like the only difference you have from everyone else is you. It's your life
Yep.
experiences, it's your ideas, it's your thoughts. Everything else is like whatever. But in the end of the day, someone wants to come watch what you have to say. That's why you exist on YouTube. Because otherwise, yeah, you do a faceless channel. That's the thing. Like those faceless channels, there is no personality there. They're
Yep.
a dime a dozen. Like everyone can spoil them. So like, what is the long life or the longevity of those channels? I don't know. Like they may
Yeah.
crank for a while, but then people will just go, I've seen these, I'm bored of these. I want to actually connect with a real human. That's what people want to connect with, right? They want to hear about your stories, your wins, your life. So
Yep.
building that around. So I think definitely like to your point, like you want to get out of the way, but there's still things you need to know. Like just to make sure you're getting some return on effort. Otherwise you're just
Yep.
going to quit and just move on. And that's also not what we want. We want people to actually be able to, like there are things like taking a little bit of time just to outline what you want to say. Like it could
Yeah.
just be a couple of dot points. It doesn't have to be a full column script with dropping in pictures and stuff. It's just like, what do you formulate what you want to get out so that you can kind of just look at that and kind of guide your conversation. It just makes better content. It's not so like fluffy.
Mm.
Um, so I think, yeah, like it's definitely a good point, and you want to avoid doing that. And that's why I think that one of those outlier videos are a bit stupid, because everyone just kind of goes to the same thing. They're like, oh yeah, I need to do that. And then at the end of the day, they all look exactly the same. And yes, they
Yep.
get heaps of views, but are you achieving your goal? What is your goal? Like, is it
Yeah.
to be an entertainment channel, or is it to actually make money? And I think most people are money, to be fair.
Yep. Yeah. And also, like, I just don't think they think long term about the brand as much as they should. Because obviously, views is the shortcut to building an audience, but you haven't thought about your long term brand. You're doing those like little shortcuts. People won't really resonate long term with you.
Yeah, for sure.